Hi, I'm Lyncy Hodge. I just completed Savvy Coder's 12-week full-stack development cohort. I accidentally stumbled upon Savvy Coders when I was job hunting after I received my Network Plus certification. Coding has always been intriguing to me, but I wasn't sure how to jump into that world. I applied to Savvy, and in the first minute of our first meeting, I knew I wanted to do this. I'm also currently getting my bachelor's in cybersecurity, and I'm really interested to see where these two things merge. Before we learned any code, our class began with Agile. This included the history of the Agile Manifesto. Fun fact, it all started with 17 people at a ski resort in the mountains of Utah. Agile methodology is a framework for project management. It breaks a project into stages and highlights collaboration, flexibility, and continuous improvement. Agile is a mindset that's described by 4 values and 12 principles. It really speaks to participation over power, progress over perfection, and adapting to change over following a plan. My team participated in Agile ceremonies, which included daily stand-ups, sprint reviews and retrospectives, and sprint planning. The first 6 weeks of my cohort, I contributed as a product owner. I was accountable for communicating the product goal, managing and optimizing the product backlog, and collaborating with my team to define our goals. To build my application, I used HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I learned how to use the terminal, version control with Git and GitHub, and interaction with the DOM. I utilized VS Code, MongoDB, Insomnia, Render, Node, Netlify, and Jira. So before we started building our application, I needed to create my definition statement and find my target audience. When I created my outline of content, I originally only had 4 pages in mind. This was my original color palette, and I wanted to utilize just stock photos on the internet. So here are my wireframes. Day 1 of week 1, I knew the end goal, but I didn't fully understand the little details to create the big picture. I didn't even know what APIs were. So I didn't know at the time, but my wireframes were a little ambitious. I envisioned a user being able to log in with a username and password, or they could sign up and go to a registration page. My homepage has a pie chart extracting information from the calendar, and then this tells the user how many hours they're spending on each activity. I have the user's color belt to see their progression with stripes, and then my navigation at the bottom. The My Training page is where a user can build their own library. This differs from other Jujitsu apps I've seen that have a pre-built database with hundreds or maybe even thousands of moves. I'm still a white belt, and as a novice, this was very intimidating. I feel like I had trouble focusing on one move because my attention was never honed in. So in my application, a user is able to create a text box and then hashtag a move that they learn. This hashtag is added to a library of moves that the user can revisit or add to. This page also has YouTube for a user to be able to look up a move, see it, and study it. The game plan page was actually my favorite, and I have not yet implemented it. The user can create their own flowchart, maybe for competition purposes. Say that I want to start with move A and then get into position B. If things go awry, then I can do option 1 or 2. I created this single page application because Jiu-Jitsu is a sport that I'm really passionate about. It's something I want to teach my children to reinforce discipline, confidence, as well as equip them with self-defense knowledge. This application was my way of organizing what I learned day to day and week to week, and be able to refer back to my previous classes. So on my home page, I added a Jumbotron because that's something that I see on a lot of websites. And this is also a picture that I took in my own gym with my friend and my coach. And then I'll scroll down here to my calendar API. If I minimize this page, my calendar shrinks with it, so it is responsive and mobile friendly. So I am able to click and drag some of these lessons around, and if I refresh the page, that information stays. I can also toggle between the month, the week, the day, and then I also implemented a list because I like lists. One thing I'd like to change on this page is I can't add anything to it directly from this page. So I have to go to add a lesson, and then I can type in something for today, today's date, and then submit. And then there it is on the calendar. And then I am also able to click on it and then delete it. So at the bottom of my homepage, I have Open Weather Map API. This was one API example, and I just wanted to add it to my site to practice it more. So from here, we can go to the My Training page. This is somewhere I'd like to play around with an image carousel in the future. But this is where I built my own API. A user can fill out this form and then submit it. All the data is residing on MongoDB. And then the data is then populated onto this My Moves page. So let's fill it out. I'll click on today's date. Submit. And there it is right here. So when I was creating my About Me page, this is when I just had a little fun with the CSS, and I added hover effects on my nav bar, and then I added hover effects on all my links here. You can see my LinkedIn. If you're ever looking for a cool place to skydive, this place is really awesome. And then I also added a video just for funsies. And then the link to Savvy Coders also has a hover effect on it. And then my contact page here. So this form is connected to FormSpree. So if a user submits information here, then I get an email from FormSpree. So in my contact.js form, this action right here is where the contact me form is linked to FormSpree. And this differs from the My Training form that's connected to MongoDB. Right here, we're using the Axios library to make a post request to this URL with some request data. And then after the post request is made, then the .then method is used to handle the response. Inside the .then callback function, the code pushes the data received from the server onto the moves attribute of the My Move store. This updates the state of the application, which allows the move to be displayed into that table. So one of my top favorite moments of the cohort was when we started building our components. So here I created a components folder. These are the modules that are constants, the same structure for each page. And then these are my views, the pages that appear on my site. To get access to module features, I had to export them using an export statement. All the modules are aggregated inside of the index.js in each respective folder. So all of my views here are exported, and then the index.js aggregates the imports. And then right here in the main.js, you can see how I'm importing all the views from views. And then all of these modules are exported, and this index.js is aggregating these. And then all of these features are made available here in the root index.js. So another really neat thing that I got to do was spend a lot of one-on-one time with one of my course instructors, Matt, and I got to implement a promise object. So this represents the eventual completion or failure of an asynchronous operation and the subsequent value. So as a white belt, if you will, in development, this was something a little complicated for a beginner to pull off. So this combines multiple requests to a single process so that all are completed or fail before anything's handled. This promise.allSettled defines multiple requests into this array, and then it returns responses here in that same order. I did include a lot of notes, just like the destructuring here in the responses, and I included the documentation here on the promise object. This is something that I want to deep dive more into. I want to read more about it, play around with it. In my wireframes, I wanted to add the pie chart and connect to YouTube. And then I was also thinking about implementing Spotify. So this is something that I'll be working with again in the future. So the entire design and development process brought about significant changes. The final outcome diverged from my initial vision and deviated from the wireframes I created. However, despite all the deviations, I take great pride in what I've accomplished within a relatively short time frame. The learning experience has been immense, transforming me from the person I was in the first week to the person I am now in the 12th week. I thoroughly enjoyed the creative process. This endeavor marks a monumental first step for me, and I'm thrilled because the potential for continued learning seems boundless. Thank you so much for watching my capstone presentation.